Hello everyone, good evening. So we will be wait for 1 to 3 minutes, and then we will start the session.
Hi everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome to the virtual event of Blockchain Basics. And we are really excited to have you all here. And joining us today is Chandramohan Jagtap. He is a blockchain expert in Techerima. So he will be having take you to the blockchain sessions today. Okay. So first of all, I'll have the introduction of the company here. So our company is Techerima and we are having to the session for blockchain basics. So today what we will be having is about us and what is blockchain, how blockchain works, what is Hyperledger Fabric, blockchain demo, and all the questions answers. If you're having any, you can ask us in the chat session. So this is the company introduction here. So basically Digital Q is a parent company and it got established in 2008, and that is for IT consulting and services. And under that, Talentegra and Techerima, two companies are there, which is coming in Digital Q company. So Talentegra started in 2015, and that is for training and outsourcing of IT clients. And Techerima, that is newly started, and that is started in 2020, and that is currently focused on new digital technology transformations. And we focus all Talentegra and Techerima work for the projects under this umbrella. So about Techerima, Techerima is a leading provider of DLT solution development, end-to-end blockchain solutions development for business. Here we highly focus on blockchain projects and developing the application on blockchain. Even we are having the clients for consulting and we make new developments also. We also focus trainings in blockchain for individuals and even for corporate. Here we provide free blockchain infrastructure to the students and for the beginners to explore all the technologies. So now I will ask Chandra Mohan to take you all for the blockchain session here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sri. So let me share my screen. Okay. So, okay. So first of all, we will see the history of blockchain, right? So since last 2 3 years, blockchain is gaining its attention, and every day the new technology or new like blockchain frameworks are coming in the queue, right? So how it's started? Basically, we will get to know about how the first blockchain is built and how it gets evaluated, right? So in 2008, the group name called Satoshi Nakamoto. So he has created first white paper on blockchain. So he published its idea, and then the first implementation started in 2009, like we can see in this diagram. So after that, he realizes that he can create a one cryptocurrency on that blockchain. So it will be basically work in the decentralized format or decentralized network. So like he analyzed the situation in current banking sector. Like every bank works on centralized database, and they have certain limitations. So to remove that dependency, he created the Bitcoin blockchain. And after the successful implementation in 2010, the first cryptocurrency stock market is launched, right? So like we have in India, we have NSE, BSE, those are stock market for the general purpose companies. But for cryptocurrency, there was no concept of any stocks exchange at that time. But he proposed the solution, and people gathered together, and they created the first cryptocurrency platform, and they started trading on it. So in early days, like even you can see that in 2011, there was a very low price of Bitcoin. One Bitcoin is equal to just like one USD. So it was very cheap. But again, like the when time goes on, then blockchain is gaining its attention, and that's why Bitcoin also gather its acquire the market. And in 2021, we can see that one Bitcoin is near about 55 55,000 USD dollars. But since last 2 3 weeks, it's again going down, and that this is actually happening. But when Bitcoin capture the market, same time some other gather together, and they started developing a different type of blockchain frameworks, right? So we'll see first of all what is blockchain, right? So many people thinks that Bitcoin is a blockchain, right? But actually Bitcoin is not a blockchain. So Bitcoin is an application that is actually built upon a blockchain framework. So blockchain is basically a framework on which you can create a different type of application. Just like we can see that there is a Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, right? So basically it's an application of blockchain. Similarly, by uh, analyzing Bitcoin, there is a one developer. So he started creating some new concept on the Bitcoin blockchain. So he created the Ethereum. So it has new features like we can create a smart contracts, right? So even before that, there was no concept of smart contracts. So after that, there are lots of organization come together, and they starting developing a framework. Then one more open source organization initiated the open source development on the blockchain framework, and they created the Hyperledger as a umbrella for various blockchain framework. So then what is the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain, right? So as I already told that it's a application and blockchain is a framework. We'll see what actually blockchain is. Even for the fresher, it seems like very complicated thing, right? And there are very less resources available on the blockchain. So it's really complicated for the freshers or the student who want to build any prototype or a POC on the blockchain. So basically, even it seems like complicated, but underline it's just a data structure, right? Which actually goes in the form of data blocks. So in this diagram, you can see that this is a one data block of blockchain. And when we write a new transaction, they basically get captured into the one block, and they again gets linked into the next block. This is how blockchain grows. So basically we can think it as a linked list data structure, right? So let's see next. So how you define this is the blockchain system, right? There should be some mechanism or some properties, right? So like how you can call this software as a blockchain. So there are some concepts which defines the properties of blockchain. First of all, transaction, right? So whenever we write any data or we create any transactions, so we refer them as a transactions. When we push any new record into the blockchain, they basically known as a transactions. And their second concept is immutable, right? So even if anyone does not know what is immutable, so basically is immutables mean we cannot delete data from it, or we cannot modify the data. Basically once we write the data, we cannot make any changes to it, right? So like most of I think I already know about the SQL database, right? So we perform CURD operation, create, read, write, or delete. But in the blockchain basically only supports write and read operation. There is no update operation and delete operation. So here you may have a question, right? How basically we did update the record if sometimes like even we are human, so we made mistakes, and if the wrong data gets stored on the blockchain, so how you will resolve that issue? So I will get back to you on this after the actual demo. Then there is a decentralized node. So third property of blockchain are basically they are a decentralized. Decentralized means they does not exist or they does not operate on a centralized system. So nodes are distributed anywhere in the world. So like even you can see that Bitcoin is operating on various geographical locations. Some of the nodes are in China, some of the in India, and some of in the USA. So this makes a fully decentralized network. Then the encryption process. So blockchain is basically built upon a very lots of cryptographic algorithms. So they make sure that blockchain should be a fully secure network. But still, you cannot say any software as a it's a fully secure or uh, anyone cannot break it. There may be some loopholes that still we don't know. And there is another one property is consensus mechanism. So basically consensus is a algorithm which basically distributes the blocks to the other network. So whenever you want to push any new block into the blockchain, so consensus decides how the block should be get stored on the blockchain or in the ledger, right? So for that, there are various type of consensus algorithm currently available in the world. So Bitcoin currently uses a proof of work, and Ethereum uses a proof of stake. So basically, proof of work works on one mathematical equation. So at the runtime, we need to resolve that equation. Then the database, then the data block will be get stored into the blockchain. Similarly, in the proof of stake, we need to approve the request from at least 51% of the node. Then it will be get stored into the blockchain. And there is one more concept like smart contracts. So smart contracts are basically a self-executing programs. So they contains actual business logic, what data we need to write, in what format. So for example, if we consider like employee record, so the whole data we can consider it as a document, right? Then we will need to create the smart contract and how we want to store the data. For that, we will need to write a various type of methods. We will see that in the actual demo. So like I have already told that there are various type of blockchains available, but how can we categorize them? So generally they categorize into two forms or two categories. First one is the public blockchain. So as even name suggests that public blockchain is basically available to anyone. It's a permissionless. Even anyone can join the Bitcoin network. It's a public blockchain, right? Similarly goes for the Ethereum. So anyone can go and set up their node in the blockchain. But in the private blockchain, it's a different, so it will be not visible to the outside the world or outside the premises. So it will be useful to build any private networks or any KYC solution, or there are various use cases available you can uh, solve using the private blockchain. So if we see the comparison between them, so basically, first of all, public blockchains are publicly available and private blockchains are only private to those organizations. And public blockchains are actually slower and they consumes a lot of resources and energy. Even we can see that recently Elon Musk stated that he will not use the Bitcoin because it actually consumes a lots of energy from the environment. And for the private blockchains, they are pretty much fast. Even the Hyperledger Fabric framework supports nearly about 2000 or 3000 TPS transaction per second. So this is main difference between public and private blockchains. Also, public blockchains are trustless, right? So as I told, anyone can join the network. So it makes more suspicious to share the private data. Then in the private network, we already know that how much organization exists in that network. So we actually trust on the network, right? So these are the main difference. And if we consider what are the example of public and private blockchain, so we can see that Bitcoin is already a public blockchain, Ethereum, Litecoin. And if you right now search, there are a lot of blockchain frameworks are coming, and they are public as well as they are private. So they so people started building a hybrid blockchain platforms. Similarly, for the private blockchains, there is Hyperledger, R3 Corda, and Ripple. So these are the just examples. You can go and search out. There are lots of many frameworks available. So basically, we will see in depth what is Hyperledger and what is Hyperledger Fabric. So as a new joiners, we don't know what is blockchain framework, right? So as I explained, blockchain is basically structure. After that, the public and private blockchain. Then there is a private blockchain framework, which currently gaining its attention to the market. So it's a Hyperledger. So basically, Hyperledger is a big umbrella, or we can consider it as a big organization which runs under the Linux Foundation. So here we can see that Hyperledger contains a lot of blockchain frameworks. The first one like Hyperledger Borrow, Hyperledger Fabric, Hyperledger Grid, Hyperledger Indy, Arrowa, and Sawtooth. So based on the use case and requirement, we can select any framework. So for example, Hyperledger Indy is basically used to build identity related platforms like self-sovereign identity. Similarly, Hyperledger Fabrics is a permission and private blockchain. So you can set up your network and create various type of use cases and application on it. So these are the blockchain frameworks. Then again, it Hyperledger supports various type of tools and libraries. So like Hyperledger Composer, Hyperledger Celo, Caliper, and Hyperledger Explorer. So like we cannot view the actual ledger data, but if we have any utility that will expose the data what we have written into the blockchain, for that Hyperledger Explorer is the solution. So it explores the blockchain and shows us what actually is going in the blockchain. Similarly, this is also a library, and this is Hyperledger Ursa is a cryptographic library. So if you have time, then go on GitHub and check it out. These all are open source projects, so they are available on the GitHub. Okay, so we will see what is Hyperledger Fabric. As I told, Hyperledger Fabric is a one blockchain framework, which is permission and private platform. So we can set up our own network, and we can create a various type of organization. So even Hyperledger is much more complex than other blockchain framework like Bitcoin, Ethereum. They are pretty much easy to understand and easy to set up because there is lots of tool already available to run the smart contracts. But in the Hyperledger case, we will basically need to completely set up the blockchain. Then we can only test our smart contracts or chain codes. Okay. So basically, there are some core concept of Hyperledger Fabric. So first one is membership providers, right? So membership providers actually controls the organization. So they manages the identity of every user. So whenever you set up any organization, you basically enrolls the various type of user, right? So every blockchain Hyperledger Fabric organization has one certificate authority, which actually gives or enrolls the various type of user, and those certificate is used by this membership service provider to keep the track of users and their privileges. Like for example, we can see that when we go to the shopping mall, there are lots of people, they basically pay using the credit cards, but on the counter there will be a mechanism, like, so basically they will accept only the credit card of Axis Bank, HDFC Bank. So similarly MSP keep tracks of the identities. So like okay, so this is the valid certificate from this certificate authority, so it is acceptable, then it approves the user to perform various operations. Then the next concept is the consensus. So in Hyperledger Fabric, basically consensus are works in a very different format. In the public blockchains, like we have seen proof of work and proof of stakes, but in Hyperledger, the block distribution is actually happen through a special nodes. We know them as a orderers. So basically, orderers are different consensus node from the organizational nodes. So we'll have to set up the separate organization, and then we will need to separate create a separate cluster for the orderers. In this way, the whole networks actually works. And in the Hyperledger Fabric, we called smart contracts as a chain codes. So even in the further session, we will call them as a chain code. So if anyone get confused about between them, so basically they are the same. But in the Hyperledger concept, we call them as a chain codes. And like I have already explained, right? So there is a consensus mechanism. But when first Fabric released, when the first time Hyperledger Fabric got released, so it was only supporting single solo orderer. Then they have again built up, added new layer to it, and it was a Kafka. After that, they again added new consensus mechanism, that is a raft. So currently Hyperledger Fabric uses a raft consensus algorithm. Okay. Then we'll see how actually transaction flow happens in Hyperledger Fabric. Okay. So here we can see that there is a client and there is a endorsing pairs. So basically endorsing peers means they actually endorse the transaction. So they push the new transaction into the blockchain. And we have three endorsing peers, means three organizational peers. And we can see here we have ordering service. So it's a cluster of various orderers, and they basically works on a raft consensus, right? So from the starting, first of all, we create the transaction, then we push transaction into the commit endorsing peer. Then endorsing peers actually creates its endorsement policy, and again it transfer the transaction to the client. Then client creates its actual endorsement message and sends to the ordering service. Okay, it does not send to any organization. The transaction basically goes to the ordering service. Then ordering service validates the block and distribute to the all the organization that exists in the network. So this is how basically the network works. So if anyone has a question, we will take it in the Q&A session. So in the demo, we will have one orderer in the ordering cluster, then two organization. With each organization will have separate CA. So basically it will uh, uh, gives a certificate for the authentication. And then there will be a CouchDB as a state database. So in Hyperledger Fabric basically supports two databases, LevelDB and CouchDB. And World Street basically we refers to the current existing state. Like previously I said that if you want to modify the record, so how you will gonna modify that? So for that we will need to create a new transaction, and that will be get again stored on the blockchain, and the previous transaction will be go to the actual blockchain. So to hold the current data, there is a concept of state database. So we are currently using a CouchDB. So the agenda of demo is to set up the Hyperledger Fabric network with CA and two organization with every organization contains one peer and CouchDB database and one application channel. So basically application channel is used for to create a different or private networks in the same Hyperledger Fabric network. So for example, if we have any organization, right, and there is a various type of department, then sometimes department sends data to the manager or CEO, so they are not publicly available. So we do not want to share them with other department. So what will happen? They can create one private channel, so they can communicate to through that channel. So this is how the basically channel mechanism works. Then we will going to deploy one chain code or smart contracts. So that's basically a FabCar. So this is already available in the GitHub. Then we will perform some operation on that chain code. So let me share the screen. Is it visible? Hi, Somashri.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So let me check. So now I have cloned the test network or fabric sample from the GitHub. So we can see that. And currently I am in the test network folder. So if you need any help, you can basically type here this network.sh script contain the everything to set up the network.
Hey,
Okay.
Chandra, this is Sanjay here. Sorry for interrupting. Like that page is not visible. Like still the demo page is viewable.
Okay. Okay. Let me check. I will need to reshare the screen. Is it visible? Hello.
Yes, now it is. Yes, now it is visible.
Okay. Thank you. So now we can see that this is fabric samples basically available on the GitHub, and there is a test network folder which actually contains some script. So this is the network script which actually contains everything to set up the basic blockchain networks. So if you need any help, you can even see that by performing help command, right? So it says that, for example, if you want to set up the network, then we can use this command to set up a network. To create a channel, there is a parameter like -c, and using that we can provide our own channel name if you want to create. Then they have provided how to deploy the chain code. So for the simplicity, I have created one script called setup.sh. So in which basically, first of all, I will set up the network by using the same commands, right? So I am creating a fabric network with two organizations, which contains a CA. So this is command to set up the CA, and the my channel will get created, and we are using the CouchDB as a state database. So let's execute. So now we can see that our network is started. And the first of all, the 3 CA servers got created. Then this process is actually enrolling some users to the blockchain. And here we can see that CouchDB database instances are get created. And after that, one channel got created by name as a my channel. So after the complete process, we can see that organization 2 also joined the same channel. Okay. So we can check how many containers are running. Okay. So first of all, we can see that this is the CLI container, basically, which provides the interface between host to the Docker. Then this one is for peer zero of organization. As I said, we were going to use uh, one peer per organization. So this is for organization one. This is for organization two. Then these are the two CouchDB instances, and these are the certificate authorities. So this is for organization two. This is for organization one, and this is for orderer. So let's deploy the chain code. So here I am going to deploy the PubCar, which is written in Go language. So sorry. So if you want to deploy any other chain code, the process is similar. Only thing is that you will need to change the language and its version. So again, I will show. My network is slow. Give me a minute. So I have again created a function or shell script function, basically, which deploys this PubCar, and which is actually exist in this chain code folder. Okay, and I have written that in Go language. So let's deploy it. We can see that process has already started. So from Hyperledger Fabric 2.3, there is a mechanism which does not exist in previous versions, called chain code lifecycle. So basically, which performs some steps to execute or to deploy the smart contracts. So basically, first of all, you can see that it basically installing the smart contract. After that, it will go for the approval from various organizations. We'll see step by step. It will take some time, I think 30-40 seconds. Let's wait. Okay. So we can see that first of all, it has been installed on organization one. Now it's installing on organization two. Okay, so installation is successful. After that, it goes into the next step of approval. So first of all, it got approved by organization one. So we can see that organization one has approved it, the chain code. Then it goes to the organization two, and we got approval from both organization. So now the chain code will be committed to the blockchain. So we can see that chain code initialization, chain code definition successfully installed on organization 2 as well as organization 1. So we can check if it got successfully installed. So we can see that we have two containers. This one is for organization 1, and this one for organization 2. Oh, sorry, here, organization 2. So let's perform some queries on the chain code. So before that, I I would like to show the source code of smart contract, right? So basically that exists in this car folder. So if we go to the folder, there are various type of directories. So I have deployed the chain code in Golang. There is also available similar chain code in Java, JavaScript, TypeScript. So if you want to explore, then you can also deploy them. Car.go. So what it so we can see that the structure of smart contract is basically, it has a car structure. So FabCar is basically a contract written to demonstrate some basic functionality. So they have created a structure for it, like it basically store its model, its color, who is the owner, and car ID. And there are some methods to basically interact from a CLI to the blockchain, and to communicate between ledger and chain code, we need to write various type of method. So first of all, this init ledger is basically creates some demo records and push them into the blockchain. Similarly, again, there is one method called create car. So whenever we execute this method, so nav record will be gets created, and using this put state method, it will get stored into the Hyperledger Fabric blockchain. So generally these are two options, right? To create one and to query the car. So basically to retrieve the record from the blockchain. And after that, there is one method. So this query all basically returns all the records from the blockchain. And this change car owner basically represents, like I have already told, if you want to modify existing record, then how it will get modified. For that, we accept new parameter, right? For example, we have stored one card record and we want to change its owner. So basically this method will update the owner of that existing record. So first of all, we read that record, then we change its owner and writes new record. And the previous record also exists in the blockchain. As I said, we cannot delete or modify the record. For that, we create a new transaction. So let's perform some chain code operations. For that also, I have written one script. So in the starting, we basically exports its environment variable. So we are going to perform operation on organization one. So for that, I have exported organization one variables. So even they are available in Hyperledger Fabric documentation. After that, we can check how many channels currently exist in the blockchain. Then we can check how many chain codes currently installed in the blockchain, right? So basically chain code are our smart contracts. So we can check how many chain code currently exist in the blockchain. Then we will initiate the ledger. So by invoking this command, the ledger will start its state, and those all demo records will get stored into the blockchain. After that, we will query the blockchain using this command query, and all record will be get displayed to the user. Similarly, we are going to add a new car record to the blockchain. Like you can see here, we have written one create car function that I have already shown to you. And for that, we are going to add this car 101, and it has owner called CM, and we will query that car after successful put call. Then we will change the owner CM to some owner VM. So let's see step by step. First of all, we will check how many channels exist and how many chain code exists in the blockchain. So we can see that we have only one channel called my channel and install chain code called FabCar. It is on version 1.0. Let's initiate the ledger. And we'll same time we'll retrieve all the records from blockchain. Okay, chain code invocation successfully. I think I will again need to. So what happened in this case? So it takes some time to commit the record, right? And even before that, it actually try to retrieve the record. That's why I got empty string. But after a successful storage, we can retrieve all records from the blockchain. So currently these are exist in the blockchain. So let's add one more record that I have already shown to you. So in this case, we are going to add car 101. Where it is? Yes. So this record will be get stored in the blockchain. Then after that, we will again retrieve it. So we can see that our operation is successful. Let's again retrieve the record. Right. And again, at the same time, I am executing to change the owner of contract. And after that, we will again see if the record is got changed. So now we can see that the nav record is exist in the blockchain and the owner is CM, right? Now we have again executed method to change the owner, and for that we got successful result. So again, let's execute and we'll check if the data got changed or not. So now we can see that this is the same record, right? We have Ford card, model is also same, Mustang, color is red, but owner got changed. This is how basically we perform the update queries, right? So, and after the completion of demo, if you want to clear the everything, then you can check all the Docker containers are still running and up. To clean the network, we just need to perform the down command with network script. So now we can see that it has removed the organization and it's stopping all the containers. And that's it. Okay, let me again share my screen. Is it visible? So okay. So from Tech Arena, so what we are trying to build is blockchain as a service for the student or developer who don't know about Hyperledger Fabric, right? So even some experienced developer get they struggle to figure out how to run the basic network or how to set up own environment. For that, we are planning to create blockchain as a service. So it will be basically for the POC purposes or for the freshers or the developer who want to execute their business logic or they want to run the smart contracts uh, without actually running their own network, right? Then we are trying to create a Hyperledger Fabric learning toolkit for freshers or new developers. And then if anyone need any help regarding to set up the blockchain or their own infrastructure, so we basically help them. So any questions on the blockchain?
Okay, so like if anyone want to ask anything, they can put it in the chat box so we can answer for those things. Or else if you need to know anything also, you can directly let us know.
Hey, Chandramohan, Sanjay here.
Yes, Sanjay.
Just one quick question, like how to archive the data which is not used for quite long time? This blockchain network.
Okay, Hyperledger Fabric. So there are some methods. So if you want to create its backup, then we can directly create a backup of every organization and store them on different network as you want. Or if you want to delete that, you can delete. But for the current running network, you cannot prune previous data, right? Your question is right. If I am executing every day lots of transactions, then data will be getting created and the size of data will be every time gets increased, right?
Yeah.
For that, currently there is no mechanism to remove previous data. That's why that blockchain basically created. So anyone should not remove the data. It's a tamper-proof.
Temporary pool. Okay. So how does if any node gets failed, right? So what will happen in that case if any one
Could you?
node failed?
Okay. So what actually happens is there is a mechanism. So suppose if you have three organizations, right? and one
Yeah.
organization got completely failed, and it does not starting. So what you can do, you can even completely erase that organization and again start setup. So when you join the network, then there is mechanism in Fabric which actually restores every block in that organization. So similar thing happens when you actually create a backup of blockchain, and then you want to restore it on another infrastructure. So same concept goes for the organization. If it got deleted or something happens to it, so there is a mechanism which we basically restore the data into that organization.
Okay. So regular RDBMS, right? So blockchain also support OLTP process.
Uh, Not
OLTP
actually
this is
OLTP.
okay, online transaction process.
So basically, it maintains its state. So whenever we push the new record, so the orderer knows that these are number of blocks exist in every organization. So they are stable. So the
Okay.
thing is like, suppose you want to push some block into your organization, but it will do not want to push into the another organization. So this scenario does not happen into Hyperledger Fabric. So they all in the stable state. Okay. So that's why even if one node got crashed or if there is error, so they will automatically get restored into the same state.
Okay.
Does
So
this
how?
answer your
Yeah,
question?
yeah. So how frequently does the data sync happen between this? I mean,
Yes, yes, yes,
this
yes.
network.
Okay, so when I explain the transaction flow, right? So when first of all
Yeah.
you push the record to particular organization, after that the record actually goes to the ordering service. So basically ordering service ensures that it will be broadcast to every organization, and then organization actually updates their ledger. So basically they store their data, and this is how they maintain their states, or they get synchronized.
Okay. So how fast is actually the blockchain platform? Is it actually this transaction is actually used in this real-time banking
Yes,
sector?
yes, we can use that. Even
So
I
I
cannot
agree with
say
the
that.
one thing, like I mean registering the like I mean a retail or I mean
Yes, yes,
personal or corporate portfolio, oh, that can be done, but
yes.
all our other transactions, right, whatever happen in the
Hmm,
core banking system,
hmm.
that is actually happening with some RDBMS and with from Java or
Right,
.NET
right.
or mainframe applications with the I mean the
Hmm,
middleware or the process. Okay, so that is
hmm.
quite faster. Like I mean, like
Yes.
lakhs of records are getting performed in the milliseconds in regular
Right.
batches. So is this operation is actually been completely I mean converted, or it's been is any in any bank in any in this
Yes.
world, right? Like they have
Right,
performed
right, right.
this kind of online transaction.
Yes, I understood your question. Even I cannot express my full project. I cannot explain. But what I did, so basically in our platform we were using MongoDB. But after that we
Okay,
did some POC on Hyperledger Fabric, and we completely remove the MongoDB. We completely remove MongoDB and shift it to the Hyperledger Fabric, and it's a pretty much fast. So I already told that Hyperledger Fabric supports near about 20,000 TPS per second. But again, it's depend on infrastructure, right? And how basically you set up your network. So based on those parameters, it supports a real time. So even
okay,
you can remove those RDBMS type of stuff. That's why blockchain basically created. And again, it's a immutable, right? So even in the
okay,
database crash, something happens, it got completely unrecoverable. Or sometimes what happens, someone deletes the entry from database. This thing will not happen in the case of blockchain. So that's why it makes much more secure.
okay. Okay, so there is a use case like say some application. I mean, some application will have its client also, like it needs its own, I mean, vendors, like multiple vendors to get actually participated in this blockchain,
Hmm.
right? So in this case,
Hmm.
can we use the private blockchain?
Yes, we can use, right? So that's why basically blockchain is created. So you can set up your private network of
Hello.
multiple organizations. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Who's this?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So how the blockchain backup is taken?
Okay, so just like I have already explained, so there is a production folder in Hyperledger Fabric, which actually store everything, everything from the chain codes and all the data that actually gets stored into the ledgers. So we
Okay.
can directly copy that data, and when we want to restore the network, we basically patch the the backup folder into the new setup, and then it will read from the backup folder, and it will again restore all the data blocks, and it will restore till its stable state, right? So this is how blockchain backup works.
Okay. So one more thing. If blockchain is immutable,
Hmm.
once again,
Hmm. Right, right,
if
right.
if a blockchain is immutable, how much data you will take as a backup?
So that depends on your use case, right? So for
Yeah.
me, I actually writes only 5 records in a day. So even for the years I use, it will generate some smaller data. But if you are using in services like Flipkart, they are generating a lots of data. Then they will need to manage their uh, infrastructure in that way. So how they will be stored or how they will deal with the data.
Okay. Then what happens if node is stopped? How to restore the blocks?
So as I already explained, so there is a mechanism in Hyperledger Fabric which automatically restore the data blocks. So basically it connects to other nodes, and from them it fetches previous blocks and maintain its state.
Okay.
Okay. Hmm. Any other question?
Hi, Chandramohan. I have two questions for you.
Hmm.
Hello.
Yes.
So
I'm listening.
the first one is how this Hyperledger is working on production.
For that, so I think this is for the basic beginner session. So if you want to go into the production, so you will need to verify a lot of things, right? So basically how
Okay.
you are going to manage the organization, how you are going to secure the keys, right? And how you
Okay.
are going to manage your identities or users. So that will be a completely separate topic.
Okay.
So
Okay.
even if you need any help in the production, so you can reach to this mail, and you can address.
Okay. So the next question is through Tekarima, right? How this blockchain service will help us?
So as I told, right? So you don't know how to start or build a network. So we will
Yeah.
provide infrastructure for that. So okay, this network is set up. So what you want to write? So basically you can tell your idea, or you can write your smart contract. And even if you want to just share your idea, and the whole process will be should done by us, then we can do that. Also, we provide support for implementation.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, this is
Uh,
Murthy.
one more question for you, Chandramohan.
Hmm.
Uh, when we can start this blockchain as a service?
So we'll let you know. Currently, we are in progress, so I
Okay.
cannot tell the exact date.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Thanks, man. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Hi,
thank
Chandramohan. This is Murdu. So,
you.
on the security perspective, right? So, how much a blockchain is more secure when compared with a like a distributed, non-distributed method?
So again, it depends upon how you set up your infrastructure, right? What are the nodes or what are the ports you want to expose to the external world? if you secure your infrastructure enough, and if you use like so if you first of all, there is a basic network, right? I have shown to you. But if you want to go in the production, it should use a certificate authority. Plus, it should use a TLS authentication between the organization. Then again, for the higher level, if you want to add or write APIs for that, then you should also ensure that how you are going to expose the API, who can read through those API. So these all factor makes the framework or the network secure. So it basically does not just depends upon the blockchain is secure. So we basically need to make it secure.
Okay, so is there any common threat that is happening with blockchain network, like common breaches or common security issue that is happening?
Till now, I did not find any issue, right? Because it uses a SHA-256 algorithm, and it's pretty much secure. And it's like there is a really complex mechanism behind the security. So that's why it's pretty much secure. So even if you want to explore how basically it is secure, so I already shown that there is a library called ARSA, which actually used in every Hyperledger Fabric blockchain framework. So if you understand the code, then you can understood every blockchain network security, or how basically they are secure.
Okay, so you mean to say it's undestructible, like no breach has been happened with this current scenario?
Yes, current state there is no breach.
Okay.
If this happen, then I think there are billions of dollars on the stake, right? Even in the Bitcoin, Ethereum. But I think it's a quantum proof. So we will need a quantum computers to solve the equation of that SHA-256. Then we can actually able to breach the certificates and can gain the access to organization. But again, in the organization level, if you stole some certificate from any user, then you can actually access the organization. For that, there is also mechanism to revoke the access of users, and there is a lot of stuff, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. So any other questions? I think we have only 1 minute left.
Yeah, so like if anyone want to know anything, or if you want to write to us, you can directly drop a mail to support@techarima.com. Okay, so that's all. The session is over now. So have a great evening. All thanks for joining.
Thank you
all.
everyone.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the training. Yeah.